Hey guys, Cheri from The Watering Mouth here, and I am interviewing one of my favorite Nutritarians in the whole entire world, Ms. Elisha Lee. Yay! Elisha runs the amazing food blog and community on Facebook, Eat to Live Daily, and she is a super powerhouse that has really hit her stride this year. So exciting to see what you're doing. The community that you're creating, everyone needs to check her out. We'll talk more about that as we go, but welcome, Elisha, and thank you so much.
Cheri! One of my favorite people in the Nutritarian community. Seriously.
Awesome. Oh, thank you. Well, I know we're all glad to have you here, and you know, on my channel, we often talk a lot about how you get to be successful, how you get to be, you know, more nutritarian as you can, and be more successful in that stuff. So we're going to talk a lot about that and your journey. I'm just so glad to have you here, and we will just jump into the questions. So Elisha and I I'll just tell you a little bit about how we met. It's through the, Facebook community. She has this amazing Facebook group, Eat to Live Daily, and it's got how many people do you have in there now?
Well, in the Eat to Live support group, which I started years ago, that one, I think it had 33,000 members yesterday. And then Eat to Live Daily is a little newer. We've only set up Eat to Live Daily just recently, like in the last few months. And that one has about 3,000. But it's a Facebook page that we set up for the people in the support group, in the Eat to Live support group. So if you type in the Eat to Live support group, you'll find our group. There's a ton of people there, and a lot of them are there because they've read Eat to Live and they follow Dr. Furman. Other people jump in just because they're plant-based and Facebook recommended our group to them, and they're there learning new things. We really just are there to support each other, to help share recipes, to help share, struggles and things like that. But I did set the group up originally to basically help myself on Eat to Live, and it's just grown like crazy. So
that's how I actually found you. I found you on the Eat to Live support group, and at the time that I found you, I think you had only 13,000 people or something in there. And I mean, this group has just exploded. You have so many people. It's been so successful.
We have a very unique community, and we're all trying to improve, and that was the purpose of the support group. So and then Eat to Live Daily is really just a better way to organize things like articles and interviews and the resources, because once it gets posted in the group, you'll post a question there. Hey, has anyone ever experienced this? Has anyone ever purchased this type of red lentil pasta?
Yeah, and then it disappears, right?
Yeah, you'll get we have some that have 300 comments.
Oh my gosh.
A question, and you're going to get answers to your questions boom, because there's 30,000 people, you've got a lot of response. So they serve different purposes. So really that support group is a support group. Eat to Live Daily, resources, website links, other Nutritarian coaches where you can get support, all that. So they work together.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for explaining that. So that's how I found you. I joined the Eat to Live support group, and I just was blown away by that community, because also, there's a lot of vegan groups online, there's a lot of healthy eating groups online, but they do tend to get a little bit mean sometimes and judgy, and people are sort of going back and forth about what's right and wrong. But I think it's a testament, honestly, to you, Elisha, and your personality and what you cultivate by being the leader of that group, that those are just the kind of people that you attract, and that's the vibe that I get from you too as a person. So just so everyone knows, as a little side note here, I'm going to put all the links for everything that we're talking about down below in the description of this video, so please click those links. You can hit the show more button right under the video, and it will open up and you can see all those links. So I'll put links to these Facebook groups that we're talking about, these two, the page and the group, so you can check those out. It's free to get into those things, and you get so many resources and such a great community feel if you're on your journey. So that's how I found you, and I was in the group just because I wanted support as well as a Nutritarian. It's nice to have those things come up in your feed when you get on Facebook. It's like a little bit of support, during your day. And so I found you that way, and I was participating in the group and answering some questions and asking questions and things like this. And after a while, I just realized how great of a group this was and how nice this community was. And, I continued on the things I'm doing, and I actually, everyone knows I'm pregnant right now and expecting pretty soon. So I kind of fell off for a little bit because I just couldn't even stomach looking at the food. But then what was really cool was, Elisha, in the meantime, you really started your Eat to Live Daily stuff at this point. So we'll come back to that in just a second, but I just want to get a little personal with you. Just tell me who you are as a person in real life outside of your Eat to Live stuff. Okay. So are you mom, family? What's going on in your life?
Okay, so the number one thing that I identify with is mom. I'm home during the day. I've always had little side projects, blogging, doing, just different things, mostly online. At one point I had a theater school. I mean, I have to keep myself busy or I kind of drive myself crazy.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing that I identify with is being a mom. So I have an 18-year-old. And then I have a high school freshman.
Okay.
And then I have a little guy who's in second grade this year.
Oh.
So my family time is very, very sacred to me. So that is my number one role. My husband and I were business partners. We've done lots of projects together. We kind of quarrel in the process, grow stronger. And I think that just doing these things together has made us stronger. We're yin and yang.
Yeah.
So I'm like a super uber perfectionist and he is a get it doner. And
yeah, that's a very good partnership though, because you can balance each other out in that way.
He kicks me in the butt to get stuff published and to get it out there. Just get it done. Who cares if it's not perfect? So those are kind of my roles. First mom, then wife, family, that's my priority. So that's my life.
Got it. Cool. Thanks for the details. I think it's so good to kind of get to know who we are as well, to give you more life and, more dimension. Can you share now, how were you originally introduced to Nutritarianism? And what's your background? And also what was your initial impression of being a Nutritarian?
Okay. So initially I was introduced to Nutritarianism by my friend Allison.
Okay.
And it was after Gavin was born. He's my baby and he's almost 8. And I just had baby weight to lose. And so she introduced me to Eat to Live, and I'm like, I am an expert dieter. I am a professional dieter. So I was like, it's just another diet. I've done Atkins, I've done Weight Watchers, I've done all of them. Mm-hmm. And I generally kind of stuck to that paleo, low carb, macro counting, regimen.
Yes.
So I saw her lose weight and she looked amazing and she was telling me about it. And I actually have always I was raised by a physician. My stepmom is a physician and her practice is all alternative. She is a completely holistic physician. This is part of my, my upbringing, you know. Health and nutrition is a big part of my life. So as soon as I heard about it, it really resonated with me. And I went ahead and did it to lose the baby weight. I started blogging about it in the process. I had a mommy blog at the time.
And this was back in 2010. So you're old school. Yeah.
There were a few of us blogging about, I am embarrassed, you guys. That video, I did a Nutritarian video in my kitchen and I was like, welcome into my kitchen. Here's how I eat to live. And I had you guys, I did not do the way that it was really written. I was showing all my supplements I take, and I think I had olive oil on the counter. I was kind of shooting from the hip. I read it, but I was kind of nursing while I read it. So I implemented the 2 pounds of vegetables and don't eat meat and the no dairy and doing the vegan thing, doing the high nutrient thing, but I'm pretty sure I was eating a ton of olive oil. I'm pretty sure I was definitely eating salt, but I was nursing and didn't pay attention to the portion recommendations. And I still lost a lot of weight doing it. The longer that I stuck with it, the more strict I've gotten on it.
And yeah, the more difficult it gets anyways, because as you lose weight and as you get healthier, you have to really start to, pare down.
Doesn't it get easier because you're getting rid of those toxic
Absolutely
cravings as you go? And I am really big about this message in my community. I am not perfect. And there are people who cannonball into this lifestyle. And I am like, power to you.
Yeah.
That was not me when I started. It has become easier to get strict on. I hate that word strict, but the more compliant we are with the way that it's written, the better results you're going to have.
Yep.
So when I was nursing, it was easier I could lose the weight, and it wasn't perfect, but it happened. So I was blogging about it all along the way on this Motivated Mama's website, and I did some YouTubes, and I was really busy with life, and I went ahead and set up the Eat to Live support group because I was like, nobody around here. I mean, I had Allison, but like it kind of just like the two of us doing it.
Yep.
Grocery shopping with me, but we're both kind of busy. And I just was like, I need to meet other people who are doing this.
Yep.
That's when I set up the Facebook group. And I'll tell you, all along the way, I've just kind of been not like super duper active in the community, kind of more just like, okay, this is where I come when I just get regrounded. But I did a lot of this, okay? I did a lot of that. I ended up even going to school to become certified as a nutritional consultant because I loved it. And I thought, I've got the blog, I've got this. And I thought maybe this is something that I would want to do. I worked in an office for a while, consulting with people one-on-one. The biggest thing for me with finding this lifestyle, though, was that my whole childhood was like an ongoing diet that went into phases of anorexia and bulimia. And so through high school, I had a pretty aggressive case of bulimia.
Okay.
And I would starve and starve and starve and starve. And then you're starving. So then you end up having that first binge. And then you feel guilty. And it's this whole cycle of shame.
Yeah.
And so what do you do to cure that? Well, then you starve more.
Yeah. And
it's just this vicious cycle. That sort of ended as I became an adult just because that was not something that I wanted to drag into parenthood.
Yes.
And I let it go. But when I read Eat to Live, I had this moment that I realized that it felt restrictive at first. That was my first impression of the program. Like, oh, I'm going to lose weight, but it's pretty restrictive. I don't know how I'm able to stick to it. And then as I started really becoming educated, learning that this was actually going to be my treatment for eating disorders. Because rather than depriving yourself, you are flooding your body with food.
Yes. And nutrients and all the, phytochemicals and everything. Yep. Everything
that your body needs to combat what is toxic addiction. I mean, Dr. Furman was the first person that I heard talking about this concept of toxic hunger, and they're actually being foods that you're addicted to. So when you go off of it, you have the same reaction that a smoker has when she stops smoking.
Yeah, and I wanna interrupt you for 1 second. First of all, thank you for sharing your journey with us about the extreme struggles you had. You don't all go through bulimia or anorexia, so thank you for sharing that with us. But also, I want to make the point too that Dr. Furman, if you we've talked about this before, Elisha, between the two of us, but if you look at, the numbers and what they report on how many people are addicted to food or have food addiction issues, they say like 10% or something like that. But when you read Furman's studies and it's really like 80% or 90%, right?
I mean, basically what I got from reading Eat to Live and listening to Dr. Furman's lectures and things, is that we're basically all food addicts. It's not, you think as a yo-yo dieter, because that was what I went into.
Yeah.
So I came from this eating disorder background and then just started that yo-yo diet. So I was always gaining or losing.
Yes.
And you would always gain a little more than what you'd lost previously.
Exactly. Yep.
And so
so whether you're at the extreme spectrum, end of the spectrum of anorexia or bulimia, or you're just doing a yo-yo diet, which is what I've always done too, that's still food addiction. Even that's not the end of the spectrum. You don't have to be 100 pounds to be, 95 pounds to be a food addict, or 200 pounds to be a food addict, or, either end of the spectrum. You all have the same issue, just to different degrees.
Absolutely. And a different manifestation as well, because an anorexic is a form of food addiction. Mm-hmm. It doesn't appear that way, but how do you deal with something that you're addicted to? Well, you either engage in it, indulge in it, or you abstain from it. Mm-hmm. So with anorexia, you've got someone who's just decided to abstain from it because they know they're addicted. Yeah. And what will happen if I indulge in this? Yes. Right? And then you've got the other end of the spectrum, but I really firmly believe that it does come from one place. So for me, learning about Eat to Live, or living a whole food plant-based diet, feels restrictive in the beginning because you're going off of those, you're going through withdrawal. Yep. And once you get through it, you get to this phase in the game where you're like, this is it. I'm not craving the cupcakes anymore.
Yeah, it's the relief. Like, you suddenly get that stage of relief.
I've never been a smoker, and so if you haven't ever smoked, you have this sort of thought of like, how could someone be addicted to that? Like, I know it is. Yeah. It's the same thing with food. Yeah. Like, when you're in it, it is so real. Yeah. And you're just, especially the first 2 weeks in, you're just like, how am I going to get through this? Yeah. You feel like you're holding your breath, and you're like, can't do this forever. I can't do it forever.
Yeah, I like to call it white knuckle dieting, because you're just holding on for dear life to get to the next day or to the next meal or whatever it is.
And you're going to let go eventually.
Yeah, and you will. And the thing is, I have addiction in my family, so I have a lot of experience with actual drug and alcohol addiction. Not me personally, but mine comes out, I'm sure some of it's hereditary. Mine comes out with food. And I always talk about this with former addict family members of mine, that I say, and we talk about how different it is for us, because for them, if they never drink alcohol again, or they never do drugs again, they're not going to die. But if I never eat again, I will die. So
that's the problem.
That's the difference there, is you have to eat food. You just eat. Yep.
So how do you, this is the ultimate conundrum, right? Because you're going, okay, well, it's socially not acceptable to snort cocaine. You can forfeit cocaine. Yep. Right? But you can't forfeit food.
No.
I mean, you can't abstain from food.
Yep. So you have to find those techniques.
Absolutely. And that is where this lifestyle really opened my eyes, that there are so many foods that you can eat that are not going to kick off this toxic hunger, addictive, process. I was going to state of mind, but it's not even a state of mind. I mean, this is a biological process.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We've talked about that before too. The point is that you have to get over that hump. You have to get over the addiction hump of it, and they talk about this a lot in The Pleasure Trap, which is the book that I talk about a lot also on my YouTube channel, that you have to feel crappy for a while. You have to get over that, and then your body starts to respond. Yep.
Yes. So that's the big thing that I tell my clients, because I am doing coaching now. Yeah. It doesn't feel like it's going to happen. You feel like this is just another diet. Yep. In fact, it feels more restrictive than just another diet.
It does.
But as you get further and further into it, I believe that it's about the first 6 weeks. And that's if you're staying at about a 90 to 95% compliance with the way that it's written. Yeah. You're going to get through a lot of that addictive, what we call the detox phase, where you've got toxins that are stored away in your fat. They're being freed up. You feel like crap because of that. You start, when your body goes into healing mode, you feel like crap. But if you can get through the healing mode, you're going to get to the point that those foods don't sound good to you anymore. Yep. So at first, it feels like you are in a state of deprivation. But as you get to that breakthrough, you're going to feel a freedom that you have never probably experienced before.
Yeah, it's very true. That's exactly right. And I think that's the main challenge in getting people, you know, from the standard American diet to this threshold, getting over that threshold, is just that 6 weeks, sometimes a little bit less for some people, sometimes more for some people. But it is that a lot of people might do this for 2 weeks or something, and they might kind of do it, 70% or something like that, where they're still having a bunch of salt and a bunch of oil and these kinds of things. And they wouldn't get to that place if they continued doing that, because it's not enough of that detox. You really have to be, like you say, 90%, close to 100% for this period of time for your body to really filter out all those toxins and bring in the new stuff, all the good stuff from the fruits and vegetables and all that. And that's, I think, the hardest part, just getting over that hump, getting to the place where you start to feel those results.
Absolutely.
And that's where you like the food too, right? That's where you start to love those flavors.
When you're thinking about going out and you're thinking, my veggie lentils and pasta actually sounds better. My veggie lentil pasta.
Yeah.
Better than going out to eat.
It's crazy.
It's weird. I never thought that would happen, but it does happen.
Yep.
And as people move into this lifestyle, if they feel like they can't go full force, like I call it the cannonball, like cannonball in exactly the way that it's written, the 6-week plan.
Yes.
What I recommend is, if that is too much, look at the foods that are on even the limited list, your whole grains, stuff like that you're only supposed to have certain portions of. Go ahead and lean into those a little bit more, okay? So you're not going to see the weight loss results as you would if you were to stick to the plan 100% or 95%. But what's going to happen is your body will start to enter that detox mode. You might not necessarily be losing a ton of weight if you're eating a lot of extra rice.
Yeah.
It's almost like a methadone effect, right? You've got this drug that's going to make you comfortable, and
that's really good.
But it's like, I call it the methadone effect because it's not addictive, right? And it's going to make you comfortable. So you're just going to, like, those potatoes and the rice and even maybe the Ezekiel toast with a little avocado is going to make you feel like you can just get through the first 6 weeks, because not everybody's a cannonballer.
Yeah. So nice. Perfect. I love it. That's really smart. And I'm going to have to start using that metaphor as well. I love it. So expand a little bit more on how eattolivedaily.com and your group on Facebook, how that sort of came to be.
So I had established the Eat to Live support group. I used it readily.
Yeah.
I wasn't going really full force at the community, but as it really started to grow, this last year, when we hit about 5,000 members, I thought, I've spent so much time in blogging and doing other, sites of different topics and things like that, and digital marketing.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is actually a cause which is so worthwhile. Mm-hmm. And for someone who has the educational background and has the experience to be willing to get up and talk about it, I mean, it really is helpful to so many people who are online just looking for resources, right? So I really gave it some thought and decided that I was going to start blogging about this again, getting more active in the community and kind of building sort of an online presence. Mm-hmm. So it just so happened that my friend had stopped by and asked me, whatever happened to Motivated Mamas? How come you're not blogging anymore? And I'm like, oh, well, that's my plan. I'm going to start blogging about the Nutritarian thing again. Okay. So, and remember, I started the Eat to Live support group in 2010. So this is now almost 17. Okay. So I go to log on, and I guess I've just been a little busy in the last few years, didn't realize that I lost my domain name, and it was purchased by someone else.
Oh my gosh.
I think they wanted to charge me $1,000 at least to renew I don't know. I had to buy it. And I was just like, oh, I was so devastated. Yeah. Motivated Mamas is gone. Like, I was the lasagna mom turned Nutritarian mom.
You had your whole persona.
Yeah, I was actually really kind of devastated.
Yeah, I'll bet.
I talked to my husband about it, and I'm like, what do you think? Like, what if I really started and just even started a new blog and started just to cater to my community?
Yeah.
Just to provide resources to them and, start up the coaching again and that kind of thing. And he was like, he's super supportive of whatever I do, and we kind of work together in all this digital stuff.
Yeah.
So I thought of the name Eat to Live Daily. It's, it embraces everything that this lifestyle is about.
Yeah.
That we are able to eat to improve our life.
Yes.
And to help us live longer, and to not be driven by food, but to actually choose to eat to live.
Yeah.
So that's where the name Eat to Live Daily came from. So
Awesome.
I started the website, and then I started a Facebook page. Motivated Mamas is no longer, but if you go on YouTube, you can still see one of my really cheesy old videos in my kitchen. That awesome. Oh gosh, don't judge.
I'm going to put a big, huge link to that video.
Go do that.
Okay. All right. I'm not going to. You guys are going to have to search for it yourselves, okay? So tell me what your eating style is like now. Do you guys mostly, because I know that your husband and your family, they're not nutritarians, or strict nutritarians at least. So what's it like at home for you? Is that a struggle? Do you cook at home, eat out? How does that work?
Yes. Okay. So I feel like we need to have even more resources in this regard, because a lot of people in my position, mom, I'm generally do the cooking for our house.
Yeah.
So I did get lucky this last year. My daughter, who's the one who just went off to college, decided that she wanted to take on this lifestyle. And that was so fun.
That's awesome.
For the last year of high school,
nice.
We would lunch together, and I could make something and double it, and she would eat it with me.
Aww.
And it was a huge benefit to her, mental well-being.
Yeah, that's so great.
And, oh my goodness, just made a huge, huge difference in her life. And not to go back too much to the eating disorders, but one thing I just did want to touch on is that for someone who does want to be thin, for many of us, there wasn't a healthy option before.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
And my daughter falls into that category. She's a little cheerleader. She's 5'2". She likes to weigh around 100 pounds, and so for her, to be able to eat all this food and get all these nutrients, and to be able to just be trim and feel good and be able to run.
And not have to eat a tiny little portion of chicken and tiny little it's that white knuckle dieting. Yep. Exactly.
So that was really fun. This is the formula that I use for the rest of my family. When you get introduced to the Nutritarian lifestyle, you honestly don't have to feel stressed about trying to convert everyone in your family, because what that will do is, unless they are open to it, it's going to cause contention in your home. And I encourage you to nurture your family relationships, and don't let this be a barrier in your family. So the way that I approach this is that come dinner time, we have a lot of different side dishes. We've got berries, we have salad, we have cooked vegetables, and then whatever is on the menu for that night, it might be something like a pizza, you know. But if it is, what ends up happening is that you get so into this mindset of Nutritarianism, eat to live, that it's not like it used to be. It's not like Friday night pizza night where everybody just eats as many pieces of pizza as they can.
Yep.
There's apples on the table, there's strawberries, there's salad, there's cooked veggies, there's all these different options. So for my daughter and I, who are strict Nutritarian, we can fill our plate full of sliced cucumbers and hummus and all that stuff. Yep. And the rest of the family will have their piece of whatever's the traditional dinner. Yep. And then they also have the veggies and hummus and strawberries and this and that. So they're getting
so smart.
So that's how I do it in my home. And I might lose followers from saying that. I'm sorry, you guys. We are totally not perfect.
No, hold on. Ugh. No, you don't get to say that, because this is reality, Elisha. This is reality, right? My husband, he was not a nutritarian when I first met him, but he had healthy leanings, He was interested in healthy food and stuff. But I never pressured him. Never, ever, ever did I pressure him once. I just was like, if you want to eat like me, this is what I'm having. If you want to have chicken, you can have chicken, whatever. And it, it's taken several years, but now he's interested in being vegan. And I didn't push him, but I just asked him one day, would you maybe be interested? And he was like, yeah. And he's interested in being a nutritarian. And this is the technique, because you and I both know, and I'm sure that your followers know, that you cannot force someone to do this. You can't force them. So what you're doing is actually the smart way, because if you were to be super strict and, upset at him every time he ate meat and, give him shade and make him feel bad for his choices, or your kids feel bad for their choices, that's actually completely the opposite of what we're trying to do. We want to encourage people. We want to encourage them to do it at their own pace, figure it out for them, because we know, and you know this, I know this, I didn't become a nutritarian the first second I was a nutritarian. We go through these ups and downs. And so we can't expect our loved ones to suddenly just get exactly what we get. So you don't get to say that, I think that
the majority of the people in my community are experiencing the same thing.
Yeah.
I think it's really fortunate if you have even one person in your household that does this.
Yep.
But the likelihood is that you don't.
Yep.
And most of the people in my community, I think I can say most, are the only nutritarian in their family.
Yes.
And that's the reason that we have a support group.
Yeah, and you have to find, and I just want to commend you for that, over and over and over again, because the solution that you have found is not, it doesn't hurt your relationship. It keeps your relationship with your husband and your kids good and loving and supportive, but it also gives them the freedom to try the things as they want to, and it gives them an example of, you don't have to have a whole plate full of pizza. You can have some pizza, and if you want to have some other things too, like you want some watermelon with it, or you want some, Brussels sprouts or whatever else you have on the table, they can have some of that too. And I think that really does help people to see. I've never thought of it like that before, and I think that's such a great technique for your family. And so I just want to commend you for that, because I think it's great.
Thank you. Being a vegetarian, it really changes the way that you view foods.
Yeah.
And even though there is a way that's written that you can have moderate amounts of meat, like a couple times a week or whatever it is, I think it is really beneficial to start off with just the vegan regimen. And the reason for that is, number one, it's going to help you get through that detox phase. But the really great thing about that is that you understand how to use vegetables.
Yes.
You understand
the practice.
That beans and legumes, you can make this delicious hummus, and you can have it with, cucumbers and celery, and you're getting protein, and you're getting antioxidants, and you're getting all this nutrition. And that maybe before it would have been like a turkey sandwich. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yep, exactly.
So when you're prepping your food for your kids, you view things from this perspective. What type of bread are we using?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What type of, you know what I'm saying? How are you cooking the food? Do you need to cook it in oil?
Yeah.
I mean, your family might not be nutritarian, but you don't need to deep fry everything.
Yes.
I mean, there's ways to take these principles and apply them even to your non-nutritarian family members.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, you'll make a vegan chili and they won't even know.
That's the thing too. And the thing is too, they're not watching you cook all the time. So how are they going to know that you didn't necessarily use oil this time, or you didn't put a bunch of salt on it? If you mix it with other things and this kind of thing, their chicken tastes really good because it's with all this other stuff, or it's in, it's next to the chili, and they try a couple bites and, they like everything. And so I think.
And I should also mention that everyone's family life is different.
Yeah.
And if you were talking to someone who was struggling with obesity in their home,
Mm-hmm.
if one of my kids was struggling with obesity, if my husband had heart disease, those type of things, then that is a different story. And that's maybe where someone would encourage
Mm-hmm.
more of this nutritarian, But in my instance, I've got underweight kids. I've got, because we've always been healthy. You know what I mean?
But I think the point you're trying to make, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's that you have to find what works for your particular family, right?
Exactly.
And what's going to create the best relationships for you, because maybe if you are struggling with obesity, it's more important to get a little bit more strict, and then therefore trying to get the whole family to support that person or the people who are dealing with the obesity, versus you have a different challenge of underweight kids. So it's, how do we get them to just eat more good stuff? And,
exactly.
Yes, but being flexible.
Exactly. I mean, you have to look at your own personal situation, but in our case, we don't have kids who, I have never been one to buy Doritos. I've never been one to buy Cheetos or Oreos. I mean, there are very rare times that my kids could probably count on a hand that we've gone to the store and bought that stuff, and it's when we've been camping.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why, we don't have, like, as some families do, where they're going from a severely nutrient-deprived situation to, and you've got illness and obesity and that kind of. We don't have that going on because we've already been,
Yeah, you're a little ahead of the curve already in that respect. Yeah. Yeah.
So hopefully that all makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think it does. And I appreciate you going into all that. I think that is so helpful because, as you said, in your community, which is representative of, probably all of the Nutritarians or people who are interested in being Nutritarian, that all of those struggles exist in different spectrums for everybody. So, definitely important to, and the point you made about making it so that it's not a war, it's not a battle, it's not whatever wherever you are on the spectrum, if you have to be a little bit more strict or whatever, thinking of the relationship with the family first and trying to make it a supportive, loving environment.
Absolutely. Yeah. In the book, Dr. Furman talks about this, and he actually, there is a section on it, and I'm sure it's like easy to miss, but he says, nobody should be made to eat healthfully. Encourage your family to learn about what you're doing and to read the book so that they can help support you. The key is for them to learn what you are doing out of love and respect for you, not because you are trying to force this way of eating down their throats.
Yep, I love it. That's the best. That's such a great section for this. It's so good and it's very supportive. And I think that's how we get to be successful, because we know, even for us just personally, it's not an easy journey and we have to find what works for us.
Absolutely.
So, Elisha, tell me, now we've talked a little bit about your family life and not everybody is Nutritarian, but let's talk maybe from you and your daughter's perspective. What are some of your favorite go-to dishes or things that you make a lot for you and your daughter in the Nutritarian? What do you love to eat at home?
Okay, so one of the things that I have found is that when someone is starting Eat to Live, they need recipes. They need a meal plan, right? And so I do provide that for my community. But for me personally, I do not rely heavily on recipes. I essentially eat the same things, like the same 4 things over and over again.
Okay, tell me what they are.
Okay. Okay. So one of them is a smoothie. And when you do the Nutritarian lifestyle, you learn how to kind of tweak maybe the way that you used to do smoothies, right? So it's going to be predominantly your frozen fruits, some greens, a little bit of either water or almond milk for me. So that's one thing I do. It's a quick way to get greens in the morning. So a lot of times I do greens. That's also another way to get nutrients in my kids that aren't my Nutritarian kids.
Very tricky, Mom. Yep.
Then the next thing is the salad. And to be honest, the last several weeks, I just have not been in the mood for salads. So I have been doing just chopped veggies. I do a huge plate of chopped veggies. And I'll either use the cucumber tahini dressing to dip it in, or I'll use the smoked paprika hummus, or sometimes I just eat them as is.
Cool.
So yeah, that's one thing. The other thing you can do is squeeze lemon over them.
Yep.
So, but whatever it is, you got to get those raw veggies in.
Yeah.
So that's another dish.
That's cool.
And then 2 things that I really rely on. One is the Best Ever Lentil Soup, which is on our website.
Okay.
It's a lentil soup that is a very basic, kind of a blank slate sort of soup. It's got some real easy herbs and some garlic, and it's celery, lentils, carrots, onion, garlic, a little thyme, a little rosemary, or whatever you want to season it with. Okay, so you can stick that in your fridge and then take it out for lunch and add a little bit of marinara with some fresh chopped basil on top.
Ooh.
could add a little bit of coconut milk and mix it up and do some lime and cilantro, and it's Thai.
Wow.
Or you add like curry, and then it's a curry. So it's this blank slate lentil soup that I call lentil soup, because you can dress it up however you want. And
I love that. I
usually garnish it a lot with like different garnishes. Okay,
perfect. And we'll put a link for that down below when I post.
Okay, awesome. Silver lentil soup. Okay, the other thing that I really love is when I first tried the Nutritarian cheese, I was not loving it. It was really, and I just thought, I do not miss cheese enough to like duplicate it in this way. Yep. I did though see a recipe for it that looked a lot different but it wasn't totally Eat to Live. So I spent a day in my kitchen just mixing all these different, ingredients and measurements, that kind of thing. And I did come up with a creamy sauce that I love to make. I call it my cheesy Alfredo. Okay. But what I do is I grill up a bunch of vegetables in a pan. Okay. And I try to use mushrooms, spinach, celery. A lot of times it's just those three, and like whatever I have in the fridge, I'll put it in there, Yeah. So water saute those, mix in the white sauce. Okay. And then I serve it I actually mix it up in some lentil pasta. Okay. It's so good. And I crave that.
That sounds awesome. I love that lentil pasta and like the chickpea pasta and stuff. Like I love that sounds delicious. Where can we get that recipe?
Okay, that's on there too.
Okay, good. So we'll put a link for that down below as well.
Okay. So yeah, those are kind of my go-tos. If I'm having a real hard day, it's really nice if I have some avocados on hand to make like some like chocolate avocado mousse. Mm-hmm. You can't eat very much of it, but it's so good, and it's not going to throw you off. Yep. You're not going to lose as much weight when you're leaning into those kind of things, because they tend to make you go over on your fats or your, what I mean?
Yeah. But I find typically when someone, there's always this question that comes up. Cheri, I'm doing this, but I just can't seem to lose weight. Okay. Let's break it down. How many nuts are you actually having? How much dried fruit are you actually having? Did you put dried fruit in your dressing and in your breakfast? And, people lose track of how much they've actually had. So it really comes down at that point to just a little bit of a little change there, and you can really fix it.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So we have kind of like, you have your meal plan approach where you go off of a meal plan. It's got your shopping list. It's got everything laid out for you. Mm-hmm. And chances are, if it's a Nutritarian meal plan, it's already been, everything's been accounted for the right way so that you stay in those portions. But if you're winging it, you really have to keep track of that stuff. So I actually have a checklist on my website so that you can check mark. That's a great resource. Especially when you're starting out, if you're winging it, it's good to have a check mark next to that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing those dishes, because I think that's one of the most important things that we can do as, the successful Nutritarians, is to share the things that work for us. So also, I would like down below, anybody, if you have some go-to dishes that are your favorite, please share those and let's talk through those, because I think this practical stuff, knowing that you have about 4 go-tos that you kind of switch between for things like that, that's super, super awesome and very helpful. So thanks for sharing those. So I want to know, do you recommend Nutritarianism for everyone, and why or why not?
Okay, so if you really boil down the concept behind Nutritarianism, it's about nutrients, right? And there is not a person on the planet who would not benefit from having more nutrients in their diet. Yep. So the thing that I love about Dr. Furman is that he does present sort of different ways to implement this lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And for some people, implementing this lifestyle will mean that they are still eating a certain portion of meat, chicken or fish, or whatever it might be, right? But the heart of this program is about nutrients. And that's why, as you mentioned in an earlier interview, that this is not about being vegan per se. Mm-hmm. That is what differentiates this. The purpose of a Nutritarian lifestyle is to give your body nutrients.
Yep.
So, did I say that right?
That's the right answer. Yeah.
So, yeah. I think that everyone would benefit by getting more nutrients.
Yeah, I think that's the way to look at it. I think that's perfect, because I think a lot of people do get hung up on the, oh, no salt, no oil, this is strict, this is difficult, I don't want to do this. But you can still be a nutritarian as long as your first thought is always about nutrients, you know? You're trying to get more nutrients in your body. If you had a salad today and you didn't have one yesterday, you had a more nutritarian day than you did the day before. Period. So, yeah, I think that's...
that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
You know what's also helpful is to have these little patches where you're like, I'm going to be totally compliant for like 10 days straight, just to really kind of purge those extra toxins and to just really get your hunger under control.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, when I was nursing and kind of my day-to-day, I mean, am I always 100% no salt? Not usually. I mean, if I'm being honest, if I go through periods of time where I'm really pushing it, like, oh, you know, I've gotten a little bit too loose here and there, then that's where I tie things up, and I cut out the salt, cut out the oil, do it exactly the way that it's written. But that's what I love about like the 90% concept, the 95% concept. Point is exactly what you just mentioned. You really have to be honest with yourself. You do. Because how many times are people like, it's just not working for me? Okay, take a look. What are you really eating? And that's what you really have to ask yourself if it's not working.
I totally agree with that. And on my journey, I've mentioned this in other things as well. On my journey, you know, we've talked about this sort of up and down, you know, start off doing really well, kind of go down for a little bit, do better. And I think that's kind of typical for most people, but we don't talk about that very much. We don't talk about those struggles and the times where we fall off and then we get back on. And falling off for one person looks different than for another person. So falling off might be going 100% back to the standard American diet and then getting back onto nutritarian, more strict, or even just a little bit. And then for another person, you know, like me when I'm not pregnant, it's more like I might be having too much banana ice cream this week or too many nuts or something like that, right? And so getting back on for me is that, just as you say, now I'm cutting out salt again. I'm really sticking to the rules, that kind of a thing. And so I think that's important to distinguish. We all have different ways that we fall off and get back on, but as long as we are aware.
Yes, absolutely. And I think this is the biggest thing that I could probably convey today, is that we have created this unnecessary polarity between the Eat to Live therapeutic lifestyle. When I say therapeutic, I mean you're doing it exactly the way that it's written, versus the sad food. Okay?
Yep.
So most people, a lot of people, are coming from this sad food diet, right? And so they're doing the Eat to Live. Well, what I propose is that before you get to the sad food, there is a large spectrum of whole food, plant-based. But here's the differentiating factor for me. Whatever, I call it the red zone, okay? That's the red zone of the spectrum, and you've got purple and white over here for Dr. Furman. In that red zone, those are not foods that are, what your concern is not even that they're going to put weight on you. The concern is that they are going to derail you from this process of being in control of your food. Because those are your addictive foods. And those are the foods that I didn't ever want in my cupboards, and I've never really had in my cupboards. So that's where we were a leg ahead. The Doritos, the McDonald's, if the crap food, okay? So when you can't stick, this is the biggest thing that I just want to convey. When you can't stick to the therapeutic version of the program, go to your spectrum of whole food, plant-based.
Whole food, plant-based. Yep. I love that.
You might put on a little weight. You might not reach your health goals as fast as you want, but don't go to the red zone. And so if you're just having a moment, if you've got a birthday party and you're just like, I just have to have something to present to the family, or whatever it is, and you don't want to go into that sad food realm, go to oshiglows.com. Look for a carrot cake recipe that's going to be whole food, plant-based. Is it Eat to Live? No, it's not Eat to Live. But guess what? Eat to Live is a therapeutic program.
I love that.
So you don't have to have this polarity. Sad food, Eat to Live. because then it's just going to be the diet.
Yep.
You're back to just doing the yo-yo diet thing again.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to take a moment of silence for that whole concept because, man, that was good.
I don't know how to do that.
I just want everyone to take a second and think through that for a minute, because that, I think, is the most important part. And that's when I say I fell off, and I'm not talking about pregnancy fall off because that's a little bit different for me. But when I fell off, say, a year ago, it was I'm eating too much banana ice cream. I'm having too many dates. I'm eating too much chickpea pasta, right? And you see me having these moments in this. I did a vlog series of 200 vlogs every day. Here's what I was eating. And you would see me having days where I like messed up. But it was with chickpea pasta and vegan butter and a little bit of salt and, you know, these kinds of things that too much banana ice cream with too many dates, too much peanut butter. But they're still whole food, plant-based things.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's so much. And we'll just make this one little point, because when I got pregnant, things changed for me physiologically. I mean, it's a thing, you know, it's a thing you can't even describe. And I have a whole video about it. You guys can check that out if you want. But that changed, and some sad foods crept in. And so I watched this weird thing that happened in my head that was like, I'm suddenly considering things that I haven't considered for years. And once you start to eat this one thing, then, oh, I used to eat that too. And let me just try that again, you know. Okay. And it creeps and creeps. And so I think that's important to just stick with that. If you're going to go off on whole foods, plant-based.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I had a very similar experience. I spent a couple of years writing a book, and I had been on Eat to Live, and I had done it, and I had sort of crept back into that whole food plant-based spectrum that was like more in the orange and yellow range. And before long, sitting at a desk, and I was sometimes sitting on my couch. You know, when you're writing a book at home, you just kind of turn into this hermit for that time. And I eventually realized that I had put on like about 20 pounds.
Wow.
And so about the time that I was seeing going back to the conversation about how did Eat to Live Daily come about, during that time period that when the support group was really starting to take off, that was when I realized I've really got to get serious about this. And I sort of had like a revival of the Eat to Live. And this is really the next point that is so important to make. If you want to see results, you do have to stay on the program as it's written for an extended period of time.
Yes.
If you want to experience real weight loss, change in your
health, the health things,
cholesterol, all of that. That's not going to happen.
It's the therapeutic. That's the therapeutic side.
That's the therapeutic side. Exactly. So when you have been on that for a while, you've got your stride. You're not driven by hunger all day long. That's when, you know, if you're feeling like you're just gonna, you know, you need some avocado mousse and you've already had your fats for the day. That's when I say just do that. You know, do what you need to, but just whatever you do, don't go into that sad realm. But that's not to discount the therapeutic version of the program, because if you want to see results, that's how it happens. And it's written for a reason. People come into their group and they're, why not oil? Why not this? I've got this study. I've got that study. You guys, the efficacy of this program has been proven to countless people. Dr. Furman has research groups going on. We don't need to question the program. We really don't.
It works. We know it works. You just have to do your research. Exactly right.
Absolutely.
So, Elisha, give me just a little rundown of what you would suggest for someone if they're getting started in Eat to Live. What are a few things that they should do first just to get started?
Okay, well, the first thing that I would say, obviously, is to read the book. And just as we just talked about, commit to doing the program for 6 weeks. 6 weeks is what I have observed is really
sweet
the
spot.
period of, that's what's going to get you to the sweet spot. You know, runners will talk about the runner high. And the runner's high doesn't happen during the first mile. The runner's high happens later, and you have a lot of effort, and it is so much work, and it can be so painful to run, but when you experience the runner's high, that's why they do it over and over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with this, same thing. You're going to feel the pain of it during depending on where you were on the spectrum.
Yep.
And if you just can get through that first 6 weeks, you're going to start to feel liberated in your ability to make good food choices. And you're going to start craving the right foods, and you're not going to be driven by hunger and driven by addictive food.
So I'm gonna segue this, because I think this is a really good segue for what you're doing personally with your website. The best way to kind of contact you guys, and the best, like your best program that you're working with right now, is this Jumpstart that you have. So can you tell us, for newbies, for people that are trying to sort of get back into the swing of it, whatever, for anyone that's looking to really get a good supportive environment, tell me about the Jumpstart then.
Absolutely. There are people in the community that were able to go on and they cannonballed in and they did a great job and they've had incredible success.
Yeah.
There is another huge camp of people who are like, how do you stick with this long term? I just don't get it. The cooking is so different, and they need the extra hand holding. That is what the Jumpstart is about. So right now I'm running a 6-week Jumpstart. We're looking at doing even some shorter ones in the future, just to give people, we've got video tutorials, we've got daily motivation. We have our own Facebook group for each team where they get to work together, answer questions. Everybody's posting their recipes. I provide meal plans for the entire time, where they have a grocery list, a meal plan schedule, and all of the recipes to go with it. So everything is provided for them. And I basically walk you through the first 6 weeks. So we've all read the book, we've seen the documentaries, we know that this is what we should be doing, but the implementation can be really tough. And when people are getting stuck and they need that help, and I can see that they are in a position of, let's go ahead and tweak things a little bit just to get you through. Maybe you need a little of the methadone approach, whatever it might be. And we're able to make it a more personal process. So that's our Jumpstart, and they're every 6 weeks, and we've been doing them. We are just almost finished with our third one right now, and it's been an awesome experience, and we've had a lot of success in there, and really good.
Awesome. Okay, well, what I'm going to do then, guys, because I think the Jumpstart is a really great way, anyone needing support, check that out. So I'm going to put a link for that down below. That's going to be the first link that you see down below in this video. I want you to go check it out. At least look at the sales page. It's extremely affordable. Like, it's crazy affordable for what you get.
What we're doing right now is we're working with each new group. We're making new additions to the program, because we are learning exactly what people need.
Yes.
We're learning exactly what they're looking for.
Yep.
So where we may have thought like, oh, this approach should be great. No, this is what they're looking for.
But I want to mention, this thing is probably going to get much bigger, and it's probably going to be more expensive in the future. So if you're looking, and I'm just saying this because I know this to be true, because I know it's really helpful. If you're looking to get that support and that hand holding right now, join the group. Get in on it while you can, while it's still super awesome and there's this buzz going, and and people are really getting these results for not a ton of money at this point. Get in now. It's a great time to do that. And as you go, you don't have to do just one. You can keep doing the Jumpstart as you go. You have people in there that do it more than once. So this is a really, really great way to get that community and get that support and the resources that you need to be successful in the beginning of your journey.
On the lifestyle, exactly.
Yeah. All right, so we have talked all about you. I think we know all the things we need to know, except this one very, very important question. If you were an animal, what kind of animal would you be, and why?
Okay. I should be really well prepped for this question, because this is my son's favorite thing to do, is ask off the wall hypothetical questions. It would have to be a dog, because my dog is my best friend.
Okay. That's a completely acceptable answer, and I think we all like dogs, so. Okay, Elisha, this has been a really, really awesome interview. I'm so glad that I had you, and I think we all learned, I'll speak for all of us, that we all learned so many cool tips and stuff from having you here. Everyone, check out her Jumpstart. All the links, as I said, are going to be down below, even the recipes and stuff she was talking about. And that's about it for now. We'll be seeing more of you, though, so don't think you can get away. Thank you so much for being here, Elisha.
Thanks, Cheri.
All right, well, take care.
See you soon.
Bye.